Welcome back to Detroit Pissing Me Off. Today we deep dive, a pretty shallow dive, into the Charlotte Hornets versus your Detroit Pistons in Game 2 of the regular season. The Pistons coming off a 1-point buzzer-beating loss where Cade Cunningham put up a prayer and it did not go down, heavily contested. The Charlotte Hornets battled out in a very tight game with the Atlanta Hawks and came out the victor. This matchup between the Detroit Pistons and the Charlotte Hornets should be quite a doozy indeed. I do believe both teams have similar skill levels. There are some very intriguing matchups in this one. First of all, let's talk about the 2022 draft. The Detroit Pistons traded Jeremy Grant to get a 2025 Milwaukee first rounder. Then they flipped that with New York, which actually came from Charlotte, the 13th pick overall, where in fact the Pistons selected Jalen Duren. The Charlotte Hornets received, I believe they received Milwaukee's pick and 4 second-round picks. They also had the 15th pick in that year's draft as well. Charlotte, 2 picks later, takes Mark Williams. The top 2 centers in the 2022 draft were taken 13th and 15th respectively, Jalen Duren versus Mark Williams. But they ended up taking Mark Williams at 15. The Pistons snatched old Jalen up at 13th, and they will go head-to-head. Very similar numbers in their first game, both getting about 15 points and 15 rebounds, respectively. 2 beasts on the boards. Mark Williams looks like a beast on the defensive end. Got a block, 3 steals, 13 points, 15 rebounds. I believe Jalen Duren had like 17 points, 14 rebounds, a couple steals, a couple blocks. I mean, he was all over the place. So both guys performing exceptionally well in their first ball game. I can't wait to see them go head-to-head as both very physical specimens, very strong, scoring the basketball inside, not great shooters from the outside as of yet, but both physical, dominant, athletic performers in the interior. Who will get the upper hand tonight in Charlotte? Now, the next matchup that I'm very excited about is Lamelo Ball versus Cade Cunningham. Now, I don't expect Cade to guard Lamelo. I think that will probably be up to either Killian Hayes or Asar Thompson. Now, I really want to see what Asar Thompson can do if he can frustrate Lamelo, but I also think Killian Hayes also has an opportunity there to make his defensive presence known. Lamelo coming off a rough shooting night where I believe it was like 4 for 15 from the floor. Did have 10 assists, 15 points, 10 assists against the Hawks. A very streaky shooter from the outside and a very prolific passer. Another matchup, Brandon Miller versus Asar Thompson. Now, Brandon Miller came off the bench in the last game as Gordon Hayward would start. Came out with a very efficient ball game, shooting 5 of 9 from the field, hit some threes, got an alley-oop from Lamelo Ball. So Brandon Miller drafted number 2 overall, and then Asar Thompson, number 5, of course. In the early going, many Piston fans were on the side of we need Brandon Miller. He's the best fit for the Pistons. If we fall to number 2, the whole Scoot Henderson versus Brandon Miller argument was in full effect. Of course, the Pistons dropped all the way to number 5 and landed, looking so far, a nice little steal there, Asar Thompson, who has been an absolute beast on the defensive end. And offensively, I think it'll be a matter of time until he develops into a prolific offensive player. Maybe he never will, but I think if he just becomes a competent offensive player with his defensive tenacity, skill level, offensive playmaking ability, I believe he'll be a more impactful player than Brandon Miller in the long run. I think Brandon Miller will most likely be more of the prolific scorer. It'll be interesting to see how these two players' careers pan out. The Pistons also have to worry about Terry Rozier, another streaky shooter from outside. Good cutter, good driver, good ball handler. I wouldn't mind seeing Marcus Sasser get an opportunity to guard this guy. Both guys are a little bit shorter, on the shorter end of things. They'll either probably put Cade Cunningham or Killian Hayes on him. Cade could also guard Gordon Hayward, which I think would probably be the best matchup. And then I'd go Killian Hayes on Terry Rozier, and Asar Thompson I put on Lamelo Ball. That's just me. Huh? The next matchup I want to talk about is P.J. Washington versus Isaiah Stewart. Both got contract extensions this offseason. There was talk of the Pistons trying to move off Isaiah Stewart and bring in a guy like P.J. Washington. P.J. Washington was under fire from the field in the first game against the Atlanta Hawks. 11 of 12 on 2-point field goals. Just was beasting inside. Will Isaiah Stewart be able to slow him down in this one? P.J., however, shot only 1 for 6 from behind the arc. Sound familiar, Killian Hayes? Sorry. I'm not trying to take a shot at you, Killian. I think your three-point shot will come along. Anyways, we're digressing. Back to PJ Washington versus Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart, coming off one of his better games, played very well defensively. 14 points, 14 rebounds, shot 2 of 3 from behind the arc against the Heat. If PJ Washington is able to do what he did versus the Hawks, Pistons are in big trouble. I think it's going to be a very close ball game. A game I expect to go down to the wire. That's why I asked work if I could come in an hour early so I can watch the full game. Usually I have to leave around halftime to go into work. No bueno. Trying to get my work schedule figured out so I can watch the entire game. Working the night shift is difficult at the casino. That is the show. The big question, will Cade Cunningham come out with the same intensity, the same efficiency as he did in Game 1 versus the Heat? Also, Killian Hayes, will he knock down a three-pointer in this one? He was 0 for 6 from behind the arc. Will Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart control the paint like they did? Will Asar Thompson find some success on the offensive end? We've seen he's been great defensively and rebounding. The Pistons really need to utilize cuts, screens, and transitional moments for Asar Thompson to have opportunities to get easy baskets. One more important factor will be Jaden Ivey. I expect him to play much better in this one. Fans are already starting to come down on the poor cat. He'll be okay. Defensively, it's going to be a work in progress. He just needs to go out there and score points off the bench and work on that defense. I think he'll get there. I really do. I have confidence in Jaden Ivey. He's the type of player that works effortlessly. He has great things to say about Monty Williams. Great kid. I think he's going to do just fine. With that said, folks, Pistons fans, smash up that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to be reminded when my videos are uploaded, and I'll see you next time on Detroit Piston Me Off. This game should go down to the wire, as both teams are evenly matched. I'll see you after the game to discuss what happens.